What's happening, everybody? Sean, joined again by my son Trey, and today on Reactions to Classics, we have an album reaction, Trey, for our man Rich, one of our main patrons and just an all-around very knowledgeable guy. The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle from Springsteen.
I'm
man,
excited to get some Bruce back on the channel.
He's one of my favorite artists of all time. However, I've never heard this album, if you can believe that. So before we dive into this thing, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Really helps us out. Hit the big red subscribe button if you haven't already. Check out our social media below, especially the Facebook group, Discord. We got an Instagram. Check all that out below. And also, if you'd like to support us on Patreon, whether you want to do an album reaction, a song reaction, or just help us out a little bit, the patrons kind of make this thing run, Trey. Check out that link below.
Absolutely. And before we get into the quick facts, y'all, music will not be included on YouTube here just due to copyright, but no need to worry. There will be a full video with the music included. That'll be linked down below as well if you want to go that route. But all that to say, let's dive into the quick facts. I like this. His second
I thought you'd like this.
Studio record released on my birthday, November 5th, 1973. I was 22 years after that, but November 5th.
Yeah.
Recorded at the 914 Sound Studios in New York. Rolling Stone's big on this record. Put it at number 133 on the top.
A little surprised by that.
500 albums of all time. Sold over 3 million copies, but as was the case with his first record, which I'm actually familiar with, I think it's a great underrated album, Greetings from Ashbury Park. This was well received critically, but had little commercial success. Went to 59 in the US, 33 in the UK in June of 1985 in the wake of Born in the USA tour arriving.
Yeah, it didn't even chart before that. So, it's kind of like one of those things where a bunch of his records ran up because he was such a phenomenon then. According to biographer Peter Ames Carlin, Bruce had developed a, quote, renewed passion for full band rock and roll with the Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle, thankfully for us. There was very little press, no advertisements in the trade papers, no release party, possibly because of Springsteen's deteriorating relationship with Columbia Records and the departures of John Hammond and the great Clive Davis, the men who had signed him as a Columbia artist. They're gone. This would continue, would almost result in the termination of Bruce's contract in 74. The next album, Born to Run, which is up on the channel.
Yes.
We did a review of that way early on in the channel. That was Bruce's last hurrah. He was going to be released. So the Rolling Stone album guide in 1992 later called this album a masterpiece, cinematic in its sweep and densely poetic with vignettes of urban dreams and adolescent restlessness, which he would of course build on in Born to Run. All Music felt the record epitomized Springsteen's romanticized songwriting and diversity as a composer, making it his best and, quote, one of the greatest albums in the history of rock and roll. I read that and was like, all right, man.
There we go. And there was also some rejected songs.
Yeah, because there's only 7 songs on this.
So in 97, 8 tracks not included on this record were mixed and evaluated for inclusion on the Tracks box set to be released in 98. They included Zero and Blind Terry, Thundercrack, Seaside Bar Song, which we recently played on a live stream.
We did. I was going to say, we know that one.
Santa Ana, Bishop Danced, Evacuation of the West, and Phantoms and Fire on the Wing. The first 5, which included a live version of Bishop Danced, recorded in 73, were included, as well as Phantoms, Fire on the Wing, and No More Kings remain officially unreleased, though, so hopefully one day they will.
Yeah, they're out there somewhere. And then The Fever, recorded in a single take in May of 73, was also rejected and disliked by Springsteen. But his manager at the time, Mike Apple, who, that's a whole nother story, but that's why, boys and girls, there wasn't an album between 75 and 78, Born to Run, to Darkness on the Edge of Town, because Bruce was fighting with Mike Apple. Mike Apple released that song without informing Bruce or Columbia Records. He sent a cassette of the song to approximately 40 disc jockeys across the U.S. The song was then included on an endless stream, as you can well imagine, of bootlegs, and was well known to Springsteen fans as one of his best songs. When it failed to appear on Tracks, along with The Promise, another highly regarded unreleased track, the backlash occurred among fans on the internet. In response, a second release, so if you're thinking like, guys, it is on 18 tracks, a second release was hastily assembled and released in April of 1999 with both songs included. As always, all these tracks are written by Bruce.
Well, we'll have to go hear those other tunes, man.
We
They're
will.
so highly regarded. Well, we're going to start this off with the E Street Shuffle.
Only song I have no research on.
That's right. So, as always, we're going to have the lyrics pulled up, listen to the tune, enjoy it, and then give our reaction at the end.
Thank you again, Rich.
All right, the E Street Shuffle. That's Bruce like I never heard him before.
Agreed 100%, man. Very diverse musically. Great job from the entire band. I thought the drums.
Yeah, shout out Vinny Lopez, man.
Lopez, Max Weinberg's not here yet, so Vinny's doing a fantastic job. I thought all of it was just quite well. There's so much to it.
Oh yeah, and I mean the clavinet comes in right away, just bringing really just lays that funkiness down, very groovy, and it's always interesting to hear younger Bruce because he does have such a different. Kind of vocal delivery, and his voice isn't as I guess you'd say maybe mature, rough and ragged.
Rough, yeah, gruff, rough. That's what I would say.
And I love the little guitar solo we had at the end, then the false ending, and then drums kind of came in. The saxophone was booming. Just a song that I think set out to do what or did what it set out to do.
I agree.
Kind of groovy, wanted to get up and dance, and
pulled you in, man,
and wanted to get rocking, and got to watch out for Little Angel.
She drives everybody insane, man.
I like that. Little Angel steps the shuffle like she ain't got no brain. She's deaf and compat down on Lover's Lane. She drives all them local boys insane. Cool little wordplay there.
Of course, man. Even young Bruce. Yeah, even young Bruce is writing it, man. The story unfolds. You always got to follow the lyrics if you don't know the song for Bruce because they always tell a story.
All right, next up we got 4th of July, Ashbury Park, in parentheses, Sandy, which is often what it's just known as, Sandy.
Correct. It's one of his best known and praised of his early efforts. It remains one of his most popular ballads and has been described as, quote, the perfect musical study of the Jersey Shore boardwalk culture. Wow, that's some hype right there.
That's right.
Set on, as the title suggests, the 4th of July in Asbury Park, New Jersey. The song is a powerful love ballad dedicated to one Sandy and describing the depressing atmosphere that threatens to smother the love between the singer and Sandy.
And he noted in a concert, he said, you travel around to Nashville, Atlanta, Tennessee, and people say, hey, what's Ashbury Park like? And I played them this number. This is a song based in New Jersey, or actually anywhere along the coast. And during recording of the song for this album, Springsteen wanted a children's choir to sing it, but they did not show up for the session. Instead, he recorded the high, clear voice of, and forgive me if I mispronounce this. I was going to
say, I'm glad you drew this.
Suki Lahab.
That's what I would say.
Overdubbing it repeatedly to give a choir-like effect. Lahab, the wife of Springsteen sound engineer at the time, would not be credited for her role, but would later join the E Street Band for 6 months as a violinist and singer.
Oh, wow. And no singles were released from this album. I should have said that right away. But Sandy would, however, along with Rosalita, come out tonight, which we'll get to in a little bit, became fan favorites from the album and would garner progressive rock airplay during the ramp-up of his visibility preceding the 75 release of Born to Run. The Madame Marie that's talked about in the song was a real-life fortune teller on the Ashbury Park boardwalk named Marie Costello, who died in June of 2008 at 93. And the sad part of the song, it's always been dedicated to Danny Federici, the accordion player on the song since his death in April of 2008, as this was, quote, his song, Minnie said, featuring a prominent accordion throughout the song. Boy, Trey, that's got me hyped for this thing.
I'm looking forward to the choir then and the accordion, and well, let's get to it. A lot of stuff going on in that track. A definite different arrangement than what you would expect from Bruce.
For sure, all kinds of stuff. And I think, it has the boardwalk atmosphere. That's why you got the accordion
Definitely.
And all just the different, I don't know what some of that stuff even was, but the weird sounds and stuff, it's quite interesting.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what Bruce does pretty well, just setting the atmospheres. And I could just place myself with what he was describing, that imagery, that vivid imagery from his lyrics. You can just transport yourself to the boardwalk, to 4th of July in Ashbury Park with all this going around.
You got to follow along on the lyrics, which you and I were both doing, so you've got to just check that out when you're listening to this.
And, some of the Bruce tropes are in here, the switchblade lovers, just kind of that bad boy, New Jersey image coming in here, kind of that muse of Sandy, the pier lights are carnival life forever, a little carnival-esque type of atmosphere at certain points as well. I did like the little choir vocals. It wasn't overpowering.
No, not at all.
Kind of had to, really hone in to hear that. The accordion wasn't overbearing either. You have the Greasers and the Tramps, again, kind of sets that setting of what you would think, hanging around in the dusty arcade, banging them pleasure machines, chasing the factory girls underneath the boardwalk while they all promise to unsnap their jeans. These themes would obviously later be expounded upon on Born to Run. You had the Madame Marie in there. And at the end, he says, "For me, this boardwalk life's through, babe. You gotta quit this scene, too." So again, Bruce always comes to a realization at the end.
Yeah, exactly. The fun and games is over with. It's time to move on. So that was an excellent one. Now we're up to Kitty's Back, Trey. And he talks about this song along with Incident on 57th Street and New York City Serenade. It's his romantic visions of New York City on this album.
All right, well, 7 minutes long, so let's see what Bruce got for us here. Woo, Kitty's Back. I gotta say, for me, that was my favorite track on this record so far. I just love the energy to it. What about you,
Yeah,
Dan?
tons of energy. I think that was a good way to put it. It builds on the last song nicely. I mean, it's different definitely instrumentally, but keeps up the same like upbeat, just nice.
Yeah.
Almost feel like you're at a party, man. Put you at a place and a time.
Oh, yeah, just almost a Saturday night. You're out on the town and, just with, the tuba, of course, the saxophone in there. Bruce, some of his best guitar work I've heard on a song was on this track. That middle section almost, as we mentioned, was like Bruce doing his version of some prog rock instrumentation.
You pointed that out during. I thought that was a good point.
7 minute song didn't feel like it to me.
No, not at all.
He kept it interesting with the story of old, Kitty leaving and whatnot. You had a cat somehow lost his baby on Bleecker Street. He shrugged his shoulders, sit back inside. Then Cat Long lied back on the bent trash cans. And Cat somehow lost his kitty down in the city pound. I like that. A wordplay, of course, the play on Kitty with her name with obviously a cat,
Right,
being lost
exactly.
in the pound. And then he's like, well, who's that down at the end of the alley? She's been gone so long. Here she comes, here she comes. Then we get that chorus with the cool, I think that's where you're talking to the party atmosphere.
Yeah,
guy.
because you get the call back on the end of every single line in the chorus.
And he knows she's been untrue, but
Yep.
man, she's too enthralling to the cat, man.
Lucky for a city dude, man. But you know what? That's all right.
And I liked how our two main characters were Cat and Kitty here. Some great storytelling, as you would expect from Bruce here. So I really, really dug that one. And now we're going to get to the fourth track.
Final one already on side two.
Yeah.
Or side one, I mean.
Wild Billy's Circus Story pays eerie tribute to the Clyde Cole Bros Circus that used to come to Bruce's hometown in the summers when he was growing up. Musician Tom Waits singled it out as his favorite Springsteen song.
Well, we've done a lot of Waits on here, and Waits is a different kind of cat, so this ought to be interesting.
I stopped it too early before we got the last two bit in there. We got Wild Billy's Circus Story. Rich told me that there was one dud on this record. He was curious if we were going to have the same one. I'm probably going to say it's this track.
I hope it's this track. This is strange. You can see why Waits likes
I
this,
was
right?
going to
It's
say
all
this.
over Waits. Waits is probably like, dude, this is like awesome, man. I'm going to do some of this. Yeah, I just didn't. I mean, I respect the fact that it is quite diverse, quite different.
Yeah.
And that's really all I can say about it. I love Bruce, but yeah.
I think the tuba really killed
I do
some
too.
of the vibe of this track.
I do too.
The tuba's tough to pull off, and really in any type of music.
I think
I'm
you
not
throw in some of these songs, everything in the kitchen sink. This one you should have taken back the kitchen sink,
Yeah.
which is the tuba. Everything else was okay. but-
You're right. I mean, it again, very kind of a surreal, obviously due to its subject matter, carnival circus-esque type of atmosphere to the track. But it didn't work for me on a musical level, even if lyrically, he was throwing a lot of wildness. It definitely seems almost like a Dylan-inspired tune lyrically. Kind of made me think of Ballad of a Thin Man whenever he talked about the sword swallower behind the tent. The hired hand tightens his legs on the sword swallower's blade. Dylan had a similar type of line on Ballad of a Thin Man
Yes,
from
he did.
Highway 61. And knowing how big a fan of Dylan Bruce is, who knows that there was some inspiration there. But
The positive of this, Trey, is it was less than 5 minutes long. Because our next three tracks are a lot longer. So
No, you're right.
At least we had that.
and speaking of that, we're going to go now to an almost 8-minute to Incident on 57th Street.
Yeah, it starts out the B-side. I mean, those songs on the B-side are 7, 7, and almost 10. So It's been described by critics as a key development in Bruce's songwriting career. It was the last song recorded for this album. He'd been working on it under the working title Puerto Rican Jane. It was one of the first songs on which Bruce felt like an observer, writing whatever came out of him, rather than self-consciously trying to write something specific. According to him, the theme is redemption, a theme we return to again many times, obviously. The story set in NYC tells the story of Spanish Johnny and Puerto Rican Jane. I was going to guess that since that was the name.
That's right, yeah.
And it has parallels to Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story in telling a Romeo and Juliet-like story with a Latin American character set in New York City.
Yeah, and as with many of his early tunes, it has a complex, extended structure, 3 verses in 3 parts each. There was a lot of good reception to this. One critic described it as the moment when Springsteen, the writer, came into his own. A Rolling Stone critic, David Marsh, calls it one of the few precious moments in rock when you can hear a musician overcoming both his own limits and the restrictions of the form. It has also been viewed as a bit of a precursor to Jungle Land. Clarence said that the intro to Jungle Land evolved from the piano and violin to the version of this track that Springsteen had been playing live. So, kind of since we love Born to Run so much, it's kind of neat to look at that. And furthermore, Springsteen himself has suggested that the lyrics of Jungle Land may tell what happened after this tune, with Johnny becoming Jungle Land's magic rat.
Okay, now I'm in, man. Let's go. Ooh, I'm in.
Let's see what we got after that build up. I'm
almost 8 minutes actually. 7:45.
Looks like that piano riff places right into Rosalita.
Jump the gun there. Boy, this one could have been on Born to Run. This is the first one I think that could have been. This was fantastic. I loved it. I loved the storytelling. It kept you enthralled the entire time. Bruce sounded fantastic. The chorus, the backings. My only thing that keeps it from being almost a perfect song, a little bit of the instrumentation in certain parts I thought took away a little bit from his vocals, and those little instrumental kind of intricacies and kind of weird sounds are not on Born to Run. So if I was in the mixing deck, I just would have
taken
mixed
those out
a little bit. But I mean, it is absolutely a fantastic song.
Oh yeah, just
my favorite by far.
The way he describes old Johnny and Puerto Rican Jane and their journey, their hustles on the street, and their love in that regard on the mean streets over here in New York. I thought that was just fantastic, man. It kept me enthralled the whole time. And again, being almost 8 minutes, I thought it was a quick 8 minutes.
Quick 8 minutes.
Shout out Vinny Lopez on the drums, especially in that first verse and section, man. I thought he did a fantastic job. Great piano work as well. Doing the whole Romeo and Juliet kind of metaphor as well was pretty cool. I like that she whispered Spanish Johnny, you can leave me tonight, but just don't leave me alone.
Which was the throwback a little bit to Jungle Land later. Remember, she asked him not to go when he goes?
That's right. You again had the switchblade knives.
Yep.
Another Bruce trademark in there. Jane is kind of saying, fed up, these romantic young boys, all they ever want to do is fight. And then those romantic young boys called through Johnny, hey, you want to make a little easy money tonight? He ends up leaving Jane, says, hey, tomorrow we'll be on Lover's Lane. The streets call out to Johnny out here, man.
They do, because he's laying in bed with her, and she realizes he's up getting dressed and hears that, and he's gone, man.
Ooh, unbelievable
fantastic
track. That'll end up in my favorites.
Yeah, I've already got the fave type,
I'm sure.
fave, and this one's supposed to be fantastic as well.
Yeah, we got Rosalita come out tonight. It is a great concert number, especially over 7 minutes. Story of the forbidden love between the singer and the Rosalita, whose parents disapprove of his life in a rock and roll band.
It was never released as a single in the U.S., and generally unknown upon its initial album release, but it began to get FM radio airplay when an advanced version of Born to Run was given out to rock radio stations. As he gained commercial success, Rosalita became one of the most popular airplay tracks. Still heard on classic rock radio today. Uncut Magazine has called it, quote, one of the great rock and roll performances, and as close to a perfect song as anyone's ever recorded, and they declared, never mind the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. This is the best rock and roll track of all time. It is one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. I swear I don't think I know this song at all, but maybe I will.
With that build up, you can't beat that.
It's going to be hard to top that last song, but this one's clocks in right at 7. Well, Bruce has said, now I don't know when he said this though, but this is the greatest love song he's ever written. So I don't know if it was in the last few years, because, you know, he might have written something he deemed greater after the interview. But I thought this was an absolutely fantastic song. Trey, there's one thing I would take out of this song that I don't like. What do you think that is? I'm just putting you on the spot on a live reaction.
The tuba? I don't know.
Yeah, the tuba. I was doing a little research here. I mean, I was reading along with the lyrics, but like, tuba in rock music, there's not many instances of it. I think there's a reason why. The saxophone, always fantastic. Obviously, we know Clarence is a legend, but I mean, saxophone in general fits great on a lot of rock music. Tuba,
a little tougher to pull.
Not so much, but I mean, it's still a fantastic song, but it would be it's hard to be a perfect song, but it would be close if it wasn't for that tuba.
No, man, I
still
really,
absolutely love it.
I loved it as well. Definitely will be one of my favorites, man.
Yeah.
A great, and you can definitely tell this translates to a live version setting, and no wonder this thing took off, because you can't help but want to clap along, especially at the end. Get up and moving and grooving, bobbing your head, man, just having a good time as you hear this man who's a little bit of a rebel, little bit of a wild card, so to speak, but hey, he's a rock and roller, and
he likes to give people nicknames, so like Jack the Rabbit, Weak Knee Willie. Like
I like that portion too, and you know, the daddy, he doesn't dig him because he plays in but he never did understand. The mama doesn't like him because he plays in a rock and roll band. The dad kind of put the hand down, said no more seeing this guy, but
because you don't have any money.
You know what? He just got a big record advance, though, so you better tell your dad it's the last chance for his daughter to get in a fine romance, because the record company, Rosie, just gave me a big advance.
I love that line, man.
And, you know, his car might have been a crash. The Lord had mercy, though. But by the time that him and Rosie meet in the morning, he'll be holding her in her arms. He can go down to Southern California. Again, kind of those themes that Bruce likes to go of, that dreaming for something bigger, something better.
Yeah, that youth taking off. Look, man, I'm going to get you, and we're going to take off. And, you know, your dad and mom don't understand. Like, very good. You know, he's very good, especially on this album. You know, and it carries over into Born to Run of, just that teen angst or young adult angst, and we're going to go away and make a better life.
Still have those dreams. Still
Adventure,
want to go out
baby. Adventure.
And get going. So, unbelievable track, man. I see why that was one of the 500 ones that shaped rock and roll. And we're going to finish this record out with New York City Serenade, the longest tune on here.
It's almost 10 minutes long. I really don't have any research on it. And I didn't read the lyrics, but I glanced at the lyrics. You know, it's only 4 verses. The lyrics aren't incredibly long for a 10-minute song, so I'm real curious to what we're going to get on this one.
Expecting some good instrumentation here. So, let's get to it. New York Serenade, serenading us in the final track of The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle, man. Great instrumentation, needless to say. I thought the build-up, those first 2 minutes with that piano by David Sancious was unbelievable, man. I thought it was some of the best piano work on the record. And then we get the two main interests. We have Billy, who's down by the railroad tracks, and then Diamond Jackie, who I'm assuming is, as we go through the song, probably a prostitute.
Yeah,
with
that's
her
what I'm assuming.
Heels stacked high. And as the song goes on, you know, you get the talk and describing her as the fish lady, baiting them down those tenement walls. She won't take corner boys, they ain't got no money, and they're so easy. Eventually, though, this guy, he wants to kind of take her away from this street life, the city life.
Save her, man.
Save her on that, hook up to the train. But at the end of the day, she says no. She won't take the train. She won't take the train. She's afraid them tracks are going to slow her down. That was one of my favorite lines.
Mine too.
In this. And then so long, sometimes you just got to walk on. And then at the end, man, we get the long, you know, he's singing and then the backing singing. I thought the outro was fantastic. I thought it was a great closer. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was very appropriate for the closer because it is so grand instrumentally. It's just a grand arrangement.
The grand's a good word because it's just all-encompassing. This fits as a closer.
Totally, man. So, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, you kind of broke it down. It, of course, tells a nice story, as, you know, basically almost all of Bruce's songs do. But, I really enjoyed it. I think, for me, you know, I think the side 2 or the B side, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely outstanding. It's only 3 songs, but it's long. I mean, it's, the songs are almost 8, 7, and almost 10. So I thought it was a lot better than the first side. Not that the first side was bad, but that second side can stand up against most anything.
I totally piggyback and agree with that, and that'll take us to our favorite tracks.
Which mine's kind of given away. I'll pick 2 instead of 3 just because there's only 7 songs. So I'll go Incident on 57th Street, Rosalita, Come Out Tonight. New York City Serenade would be a runner-up. So would Kitty's Back. Wild Billy's Circus Story is the one you could throw out of here.
Yeah, man. The only track I didn't really vibe with on this was the Wild Billy Circus. Everything else could be pretty much in contention, man. I'm gonna go with Incident on 57th Street, just like you. And then I'll throw some love to Kitty's Back, actually. I'll go on the first side. But, I mean, Rosalita is right there, as is New York City Serenade. And that'll now take us to our overall score of the record.
Yeah, for me on first listen, I mean, I said at the start, I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, although I've never heard this record, so you can take that for what it's worth. But for me on first listen, it's going to be an 8.0, and I would imagine... one thing about Bruce albums, if you've never listened to a lot of them, you're watching this channel, maybe you're younger or whatever, and you've never listened to a lot of Springsteen, you got to listen to them a bunch of times, right? Because they tell the story, and it all just kind of comes together for you the more you listen to it. So I would imagine this one might even go up a little bit on grade.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be right there with you, man. Bruce has brought us 3 records to react to, and all of them I've given at least an 8, and I'm going an 8 on this one as well, which, it's pretty darn high grade after first listen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to echo a lot of your thoughts, Dad. I thought a very cinematic record in a sense, and I think a lot of Bruce's music does that, but just setting the atmosphere with the music and, of course, the storytelling. Really, I'll steal one of your favorite lines, takes you on a journey,
it does,
so to speak, and I thought that this record's really showed that for Bruce's sophomore effort here. I mean, his debut was fantastic as well, but his sophomore effort, I think, really showed a nice step forward, and obviously,
and then he's just going to drop the hammer on the next one 2 years later, Born to Run.
Born to Run, one of our favorite records here at the channel, man. So. And what a way to start out a career with those 3, and then you got Darkness on the Edge of Town in there.
And then we go to the river, Nebraska, Born in the USA. So it's
those first 7, 8 records are something else. So I really enjoyed this, man. You still got a young Bruce up in here too. Kind of with the vocal delivery, you can still believe he feels these dreams and ambitions and hopes that he's reflecting in this track as well.
And I mean, he's under the gun in this album already. He's really going to be on Born to Run. You can almost feel the intensity and desperation in a good way. And like, man, I'm gonna freaking put on everything I got here to save my my music career.
And shout out to everybody in the backing band too, man. From
no joke,
piano to obviously Clarence to
no Roy yet, no Little Stevie, no Max, but the band is this band version is fantastic.
So this is one you want to get up and groove to, from the E Street Shuffle all the way down to when you're serenaded at the end. So, man, really enjoyed this. Let us know your thoughts on it. Again, want to shout out Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
I know Rich is a huge Springsteen fan, one of his favorite few artists, and it's not hard to see why with stuff like this. So, thanks again, everybody, for watching. Thanks, Dad, for the research. And until next time, we will see you.